All right, so this last section, section 2.4, we're just going to be talking about absolute value, and some of you have seen it on the Delta math already. But basically, you're going to take your absolute value and create two equations out of it. And most of your answers, most of your problems will have two answers, right? So if you have something like the absolute value of 3x minus 2 equals 8, you're going to rewrite this as 3x minus 2 equals 8, which is exactly what you have there, but minus the absolute value bars. Then you're going to write the word or, and then you're going to say the same thing on the left, the 3x minus 2, but instead of saying 8, you're going to say negative 8. Okay? One thing you need to know is that in order to do this, that absolute value has to be what we call isolated. What does the word isolated mean? By itself, okay? So if anything's being added or subtracted to it, you have to move it to the other side first. If it's being multiplied or divided by something, you got to do the inverse operation to get the absolute value by itself, okay? So if you need to do that first, do that first. This one, it's already isolated, okay? Then you solve them each separately. And you're not always just going to get opposite answers. You're not just going to get like 3 and negative 3. Don't just assume that. You'll usually get a totally different number, if that makes any sense. All right, so on the one on the left, let's add 2 to both sides. We get 3x equals 10. Divide both sides by 3. And so this one is 10 thirds, or you can change it to 3 1/3 because we're going to put it on a number line in just a second. All right, the equation on the right. Add 2 to both sides. We get 3x equals negative 8 plus 2 is negative 6. Divide both sides by 3. And we get x equals negative 2. Okay? So like I said, notice they are not just opposites of each other. Don't just go for opposites. All right? Draw a number line. We need to focus on 3 1/3 and negative 2. So we'll put 0 kind of right in the middle. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So if this is 3 and this is 4, 3 1/3 is going to be about right there. 3 1/3. If you wanted to write it as 3.3 with a bar over it, you can do that too. And then let's see, 1, 2, negative 2 right there. So we're also going to have a point at negative 2. All right. Any questions on example number 1? All right, so most of you have done problems like example number 1 before, but you may not have seen it with an inequality. All right, so let's look at an inequality with absolute value in it. So combining basically two things together. We're going to start with the absolute value of 2z minus 1 plus 3 is greater than or equal to 8. Okay? And anytime you have the greater than or equal to, or even if you didn't have the equal part, it's called a disjunction. Where you're going to have the or. Yes. Okay, so first thing we need to do is isolate that absolute value. So right now, 3 is being added. So we do what? Subtract that 3. Subtract that 3 first. So we have the absolute value of 2z minus 1 greater than or equal to 5. Okay. Now we're going to write this as a disjunction with the word or in the middle. And on the left, we're going to write this exact inequality without the absolute value bars. So exactly what you see minus the absolute value bars. So the 2z minus 1 greater than or equal to 5. For the one that comes after the word or, we're going to switch two things. We're going to reverse the inequality, and we're going to make this number negative, or the opposite of whatever it is. 2z minus 1. Reverse this inequality to less than or equal to negative 5. All right, now we're going to solve them independently and graph them. If we've got an or, the graph should go which way? Who remembers from the other day? Ors go opposite direction, right? Ands overlap in the middle, ors go opposite directions. Okay, so on the one on the left, we're going to add 1. We get 2z greater than or equal to 6. Divide both sides by 2. So z is greater than or equal to 3. And then the one on the right, we're going to add 1. So 2z is less than or equal to negative 4. Divide by 2. And so z is less than or equal to negative 2. All right? So if we've got 3 and negative 2, we can probably leave our 0 pretty close to the middle. 1, 2, 3. Okay. And over here we need at least negative 2. Or should be going opposite directions. So at positive 3, are we going to have an open or closed circle? Closed, because it has the equal part. Fill that in and shade to the right. And then at negative 2, open or closed? Closed. So closed circle, less than, so shaded to the left. All right, we got one more. And instead of being a disjunction, who remembers the other word? Conjunction. Good job. Why did I call? Oh, I numbered that wrong. That should have been 2. Did you? Is that what you were saying? Yes. Oh, thanks for catching that. All right, so example number 3. We're going to have the absolute value of 3 minus 2t less than 5. And this one, because the other one was a disjunction, this one's a conjunction, which means it's an and. So you can write it as 2 separate ones and put an and in the middle, or you can make it the 3-part and one. And the way to do that is to take that 5, slide it out front, and change the sign to negative 5. Keep the same inequality you have there. Okay, so they should both be less than, so both pointing the same direction. And then in the middle, you're just going to have the 3 minus 2t in the middle. Okay? Again, if you need to isolate it first, isolate it first. This one's already isolated, so it's good to go. Okay? Then, whatever you need to do to get the t by itself in the middle, you're just going to do inverse operations. So subtract 3, which means you need to subtract 3 from all 3 parts. Negative 5 minus 3 more, you end up at negative 8. These are opposites. And we have negative 2t in the middle. And then 5 minus 3 is 2. The t is being multiplied by negative 2, so we want to divide by negative 2. So you have to divide all 3 parts by negative 2. And so when you divide or multiply by a negative number, reverse your inequalities. And then just simplify. Negative 8 divided by negative 2 is positive 4. These cancel. T's in the middle. 2 divided by negative 2 is negative 1. Now the best way to get this ready for graphing is to have the smallest number on the left. So I'm going to swap places, the 4 and the negative 1. Keep the t in the middle. And then flip these guys around so that it still has the same value. All right, draw your number line. The graph of this one should be overlapping, right? Because it's the and. And let's put our zero about right there. 1, 2, 3, 4. And to the left, we've got a -1. All right, so on -1, open or closed? Open. +4, open as well. And the t's in the middle, so shaded in between. All right. Finish copying that down.